All right, so moving on to the next segment. Which UFC fighters have the potential to become the first ever three-division world champion in UFC history? So this is yet to be accomplished in the UFC. We've seen some all-time greats in the octagon, some double champions be crowned in the octagon, but we've never seen one fighter, male or female, in the UFC ever become a three-division world champion in UFC history. So these two respective fighters, I do believe, can be in line for making their own history and becoming the first ever three-division world champions in UFC history. So fighter number one I see accomplishing this is Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is one of, if not the fastest rising star in UFC history. He has under 15 total MMA fights, and he already has the right to call himself a two-division world champion in the UFC, a former middleweight champion, and currently the reigning defending light heavyweight champion in the UFC today. So he's already defeated the likes of Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, Yuri Prochazka twice, and Jamal Hill, defeating all of those respective fighters by knockout. So Alex Pereira is building up a pretty good resume in the MMA inside the UFC world. And the fact that I'm looking at the heavyweight division right now, it's up in the air. I mean, the all-time great, the baddest man on the planet, Jon Jones, how much time does he really have left in the UFC? Has yet to defend that heavyweight title since winning it over a year ago. We see the interim heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall, as great as he's been. I think there's some question marks, and I see a little bit of flaws in his game, even though he's a phenomenal heavyweight fighter. And Stipe, I just think this heavyweight division could be wide open if Jon Jones decides to hang it up after one more fight. So I think it is really, that goal is really achievable for Alex Pereira to become a heavyweight champion in the near future. I think he just needs to work on his grappling game, and he gets a grappling game going. I don't see a reason why he could become the first ever three-division world champion in UFC history by winning the heavyweight division. Now, I do have an honorable mention, and this fighter I definitely do believe has the chance to also be the first ever three-division, the first ever three-division world champion in UFC history. That man is Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, right now, in my opinion, is a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC today. Currently the reigning defending bantamweight champion in the UFC. He's only 24 years of age, and he has an MMA record of 18 wins, 1 loss. The only loss that he had was against Marlon Vera back in 2020, when he basically had no leg. He got knocked out but had no leg to fight throughout that fight after the first round. So that was his only loss, and he already avenged that loss by defeating Marlon Vera. But he's already taken over the bantamweight division. I mean, he's defeated the likes of Aljamain Sterling, Marlon Vera, and if he beats Merab, I have no reason to believe that Sean O'Malley will stick around at the bantamweight division. I think he can move up to the featherweight division, give the likes of Brian Ortega, Alexander Volkanovski, Ilya Tupara, Max Holloway some problems at featherweight, and he's so young. And if he could take over the featherweight division one day, I wouldn't see a reason why he couldn't take over the lightweight division one day in the UFC. I think his trajectory of being so young, having that significant striking to his repertoire, to his toolbox, and is able to switch stances very comfortably, move around the octagon very comfortably, and have that knockout power, I don't see why Sean O'Malley can't reach out and shoot for the stars and become a three-division world champion in the UFC, because that's really a really achievable goal for Sean O'Malley, because he's so young. He's a very popular star, box office attraction. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to move comfortably up in weight. Being already at the bantamweight division this young in his career, like I said, if he beats Merab in the main event of UFC 306, why stick around the bantamweight division? Why not challenge yourself to possibly the winner of Ilya Tupara or Max Holloway, or challenge yourself to a featherweight fight against all-time great Alexander Volkanovski, or you could challenge yourself against Brian Ortega or Diego Lopez. I think it's a wide-open achievement for both of these respective fighters, and Alex Pereira and Sean O'Malley, to one day be three-division world champions in the UFC. Both top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the UFC today. But those are my thoughts on which UFC fighters I truly can see being a three-division world champion in the UFC today.